Tom, man, welcome back. Make another video. Talking today a little bit about minimalism. Minimalism is probably the second most important element within MGTOW that I think really pushed me to talk about MGTOW and really resonated with me. I felt that it was ingrained within this philosophy. The other part was the Pauline monk element about us being in the end times. I mean, I think we are nearing that ever so quickly. Every single day we're getting closer and closer, and it doesn't seem like anything could be wiser other than going your own way and minimizing your assets and your possessions and your connections to this world, because it's such a transient world. And so those really tied hand in hand. I mean, you look at Paul's life, and his life was made possible because of minimalism. Obviously, in that time, your possessions were far less, because simply you could only really operate with what you could carry around. You could only really operate with what you could cart around physically, what you could carry around physically on your back. If you had a donkey, if you had a horse, you didn't really have much in the way of property. It wasn't like we had couches and large beds, king-size beds that we were carrying around, this, that, and the other. You would use a lot of what was around you immediately in terms of resources, and you would build on the spot. People would build their own homes. So it was more commonplace for a life like Paul's to be lived, but it was really only possible because of minimalism. He was consigned, his true possessions were in his heart and in his mind. And a man that's true possessions are in his heart and in his mind is truly an indestructible man. How can you, I mean, it's kind of cliche, kind of taking from V for Vendetta, you can destroy the physical, you can destroy a man, but you cannot destroy an idea. And I could go into so many tangents about this. The most important thing that you do in life is not your genetic legacy. It's not your belongings or mementos or things that you own. It's the ideas that you pass on, because ideas can spread and can create roots in so many different directions and through so many different people. They can last forever. Ideas have been passed on forever. Ideas in how we operate, ideas in how we do things, build, engineering, they evolve and they expand into something greater. But ideas are how you leave your mark on a person. How you're inspired that lasts way longer than any genetic legacy. People don't know who their ancestors were from thousands of years ago, but they know that they were influenced by how Sir Isaac Newton was, or how Galileo stood his ground and pushed forth the heliocentric model. Ideas are how you pass on what you've done in this world and how you truly make an impact. A man that doesn't want to make an impact in this world is a man that's tied to the physical. Paul was not tied to the physical. He could not be. He wasn't able to operate under his ministry. Jesus, when he began his own ministry, he said, you need to leave your family behind. You need to leave your job behind. You're not going to be fishing anymore. You can't bring these nets with you. You need to be fishers of men. The only way to be fishers of men is to use your words and use your actions, which are things that you can take everywhere. You're not becoming a fisher of men by bringing the talents, as in the monetary, the coins around with you. You are a fisher of men with what you say and how you act and the character. And that's the unfortunate thing about the modern world, is that this isn't a real thought and this isn't taken into consideration, because what we own, materialism, one, is where we perceive our value to be, and number two, we perceive our value to be in the traits that we have, the things that we're born with. Your value is not in whether you're born male or female. Your value is not in whether you're born of this ethnicity or this race. Those are part of what equips you for the life that you live, and they point you towards your purpose. They point you towards what you're inclined to be doing with your time, because that's truly the only thing really that we decide how we're going to use what we own as a non-renewable asset, time. Those things are not how you're defined. Those things are not what make you you. The lie that the world has told us is that our traits, the things that we're born with, the possessions that we're born with, but also the biological traits are what make us valuable. And number two, what we own. So all this idea of ownership. And the lie behind those things is that truly, the only things that you do own are how you use your time, unless that's stripped from you, which is what we seem like we want to do in the United States more and more every day, is strip the ability to choose freely with what we want to do with our time. And then number two is the thoughts that you have. The thoughts that you have, the character that you possess, and what you believe in. If those are the most important things, how we use our time, so our actions, and then number two is our character and our ideas and beliefs, what we hold true to be valuable in our mind, then all this stuff around us doesn't really matter. And clearly there must be something wrong if depression and suicide and crime and poverty and divorce and childlessness or fatherlessness and barren, just destroyed and ravaged families, all these things continue to happen. There must be some type of issue with our priorities. If this was a business, if our world was a business, there would be an audit going on. Why are we in debt? Why are we in such a moral grave? Why can't we come out of it? What are the reasons for this? There would be an analysis, but there is no analysis anymore. There's continued consumption, purchasing, buying, distractions, entertainment. We're obsessed with all of those things, all the things that glitter. Wouldn't you think people would step back and examine where their priorities are? And so I guess this is the more spiritual connection to minimalism, but those two things are combined. Paul could live his life and he can really make an impact on the world because of minimalism. Minimalism allowed him to focus on the spiritual. A man is not to be tied and betrothed to the world, and the way to ensure that is to remove a fixation on the physical. Minimalism, reducing what you need to survive. The more that you consume, the more that you need to produce. And the only way to get enough in order to consume and keep up with whatever threshold you have, whether it's your mortgage, whether it's your loans, credit card loans, consumer loans, student loans, car loans, medical loans are a little bit of a different situation, but a lot of times they're incurred because of your consumption. All of these different chains that you bring into your life because of your consumption, the only way to really remove them is to reduce what you need. And you need less if you're more reliant on the spiritual, if you're more reliant on what's within. If your true possessions, your true home, your true Bugatti, your true mansion, 10-bathroom mansion, your true Rolex watch, if all that stuff's in your mind and that's in your heart, you can go anywhere and be happy. You can do anything and be happy. And this is a very Stoic belief. And the unfortunate thing is that if you bring this up, again, it's what they did to Jesus. They said, this man's crazy. John the Baptist and Jesus, he's demon-possessed or a drunkard. It's one of the two. There's no way somebody can be fulfilled and live a truthful and meaningful life living like this. Wouldn't you want to live the way Cleopatra is living? Wouldn't you want to live how King Ramses is living? Wouldn't you want to live how Caesar Augustus is living? Wouldn't you want to live like that? Wouldn't that be better? But the thing is, we're all going to have the same end. Everything's going to go from ash to ash, dust to dust. So where is our priority? And minimalism frees us from so many things. And MGTOW is a life that you can live and be rich as a minimalist. Minimalism allows you not to have to work as much. Minimalism allows you to have a freedom of mind. You don't have weight in your mind. You don't have weight in your heart, which is a real thing. The more worried you are about getting that payment taken care of and working and getting the promotion and staying secure in your job, the more that you have to acquiesce and capitulate to the corporate agenda, to the agenda of the world, the more that you have to be accepted by the world. And Christ says that the more that we're accepted by the world, the less we are in his eyes, the further we are from him, the further we are from truth, the further we are from living a meaningful life. So there's all these lies around us, and a lot of people get stuck in the rat race. The rat race is death. Do what you love and be passionate about it, and if that means busting your butt every single day, then you're doing the right thing. But if you're doing it because of financial gain, you're doing the wrong thing. Because all that means is that you're consuming more and you're going to have less freedom. And then when you're in your 40s and you're in your 50s, you're going to look back and you say, I lived in chains forever and now I have all these possessions, but I have nothing in my heart. You don't have to worry about your credit score. You don't have debts. You don't need to buy a big house and have a huge loan. You're not indebted in a literal sense with money, but also in your life. Just your life. You don't have life debt if you live this way, and it's just a no-brainer, but obvious answers are ignored today. Why are we surprised? So thanks for listening, guys. Hoodie's up, hoodies out.